What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today we're going to be going through my top carried pocket knives for the month of February. This isn't a surprise. February is a short month and the month is already over. We are in March and I still can't believe how fast this year is already going by. Let's go ahead and jump into the knives. First, I just wanted to do a couple of honorable mentions. These were really close to making the top 5, but they were just bumped out and I did want to share them. So it's like a tied 6 honorable mention. So first, we're going to talk about this Civivi Sakoki. This is a Ray Laconico design Civivi that is under $70. You get 14C28N. You can get micarta or G10 handles. Very comfortable ergos. It has a good detent out the box. Nice thumb flipper action, or thumb stud action, I should say, and a nice front flipper tab. Now, I did update or tune the detent on this one to get it a little bit more snappy, but I really do like this one, and I did want to mention that it was an honorable mention carry for February. Perhaps if I had gotten it sooner in the month, it may have actually beat out one of the top 5 knives. The other honorable mention is going to be the Protec Mordax. The reason I wanted to honorable mention this one is because it was gone for part of the month for at least a few weeks to get the regrind for BGM. So it does have a nice hollow grind and swedge on it now. Really good looking grind lines on this one and really thin and slicey. Still love this button lock. Still my favorite. Great detent, super strong lock. Very fidgety knife. That was also honorable mention, and I think part of the reason it may not have made it into the top 5 is because it was gone. But that regrind on there with the 18-degree per side angle that I threw on it, phenomenal. Let's jump into the top 5 and not delay it anymore. At number 5, no surprise, because these were my top carried pocket knives in 2022. The Demco AD 20.5 with the BGM regrind and the camo carbon scales. I did strip and re-anodize the Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip to kind of bring out some of the greens and to accent the greens on here. I really like those a lot. And then the other one is the one with the original goat scales, also with a BGM regrind, and it has the clip point variant with the same Lynch Northwest clip that I re-anodized myself. Both of these have the Rocket Glide skiffs in the pivot. Phenomenal action. What a great lock. I'm not sure what's going on with my voice. So sorry about that. But I really enjoy these for an EDC. Fantastic lock. Fantastic cutting performance, and even better with that BGM regrind. Awesome, awesome knife. But these were number 5 for my top carried knives of February. Let's keep going. Number 4, Spyderco Shaman. I got the RGT titanium skinny scales that replaced the former fat carbon scales that were on here to get it an all metallic look. Blacked out the hardware, picking all of that up. MXG deep carry pocket clip and Meton Boss back spacer. I did have to modify and cut it off a little bit because it was running along the compression lock, so it wasn't functioning correctly. And then I reinstalled the OCD for EDC CME here for that button lock experience. Really like this one a lot. I do need to tune up the detent a little bit here. I had to recently adjust the lock bar because it had a little bit of a curve going to it. So when you would close it, you couldn't get it to fully seat. So it was kind of sitting like that, where you could see a little bit of the compression lock instead of it just sitting completely flush and going in there. Making that change allowed me to remove all of the blade play in the pivot, give it that smooth near fall shut action. It's not quite closed fall shut, but because I did lighten up the detent, also trying to make sure that I got good closing action. The detent's a little light, so sometimes when you go to flip it, it doesn't want to deploy all the way, and I can't even get it to duplicate it now. But really love these skinny scales from Applied's Weapon Tech. They are really nice. The CME makes this completely useful as a left-hander. Really like that he invented that, and it works really well for this one. Really easy to install. You just got to be careful that the glue doesn't run over and that it doesn't run underneath. Oh, I'm not going to be able to show that to you. It's such a bad angle, but it doesn't run underneath because it's going to be scraping off here a little bit. I actually put just a little bit too much myself, so it's kind of scraping a little bit when it was opening and closing. But just such a comfortable knife, especially if you have larger hands. Fits really well. Fantastic power shape here to the blade. It's got like that hawk bill shape. Really powerful for the push cuts, and it works so well. I love this one. One of my favorite Spydercos of all time. Going to be a little tough to get that one on the screen there, and I actually may create some space for myself opening these all up so that they can sit on here. But the Spyderco, definitely a larger knife, and it's going to be tough to get them all to fit on the screen. I might have to change that up. Anyway, let's keep going. Number 3, I don't think this is going to surprise anyone because I talk about how much this knife surprises me when I do my weekly carry updates, and that is going to be the WE Hyphen. This one here is a Gavco design, has a very powerful blade shape for such a small knife. Nice forward finger choil, which makes this a full 4-finger grip. It's a little close, but you can see I have just enough space to clear that blade, so when I'm pushing through the cuts, this works really nice. Good chunky handles. I also really have grown to appreciate how this cuts down, like it shifts down a little bit in the design, because that actually puts this further down on the fingers, so it allows me to have that much more control through the push cuts. Beautiful hollow ground on the CPM 20CV blade. Awesome acid etch stone wash going on with the blade. Also really nice anodizing and stone wash on the body itself with a very nice pocket clip. I like this so much more than the regular pocket clips that you typically find on the WEs. And then the accent hardware is nice. I have installed skiffs in the pivot on this one as well, just to give it a little bit smoother action on the open and close. It did improve it ever so slightly from the factory. So that is the number 3. So 5, 4, 3. Coming in at number 2, not a surprise to me because I was actually happy to get this one back in the collection, and that is going to be the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. This is a really nice flex carry for me. It can be a main carry for an EDC, and it can be an office carry for me as well because it has such clean lines, very tastefully done, just a very beautiful knife aesthetically. Nice reverse flipping action, has a good detent for that. It also has a nice detent for that front top flipper. Really good knife. Awesome slicey blade, beautiful side to side satin finish on it. Really looks good. You can really see the grind lines when you look at this blade. Nice drop point, extra thin and slicey. Decent access to the lock bar for being a little bit of a smaller knife, more slender, and just super smooth. Also have rocket glides in the pivots for this one as well. I really like this variant that has the blue dark matter in there. I think it looks really good. And then just a little pop of accent color there to complement the blue. Not going crazy on this one, just a little dab there, in my opinion, just keeps it really classy looking. This is such a great design. It's very nice ergonomically. It's chunky enough and has enough contouring in there to where it feels pretty comfortable. You can, even if you wanted to, use this in some power cuts. It's going to do you just fine. And that nub for the detent means that you don't have to go very far at all to get past the break for this to fall shut. I'm trying to time moving my finger out of the way and closing it at the same time, and as you can see, I ended up kind of pushing it back up. But what a great knife. Riyadh did such a phenomenal job, and Brian Nadeau's design is absolutely beautiful. Man, that shaman looks like a giant out here, doesn't it? Coming in at number 1 is a knife that I really have enjoyed. I think this is by far the best design from this designer, and I think it is by far one of Bestech's best executions. That is going to be the EMP EDC Relative. I like the thickness on the scales. I like the height on the scales. The chamfering is there, but it's a little bit pushed out. When you look at the Nimble X, it was more chamfering there, which made it feel just too skinny for larger hands. Honestly, I think it's too skinny for medium hands in my opinion. This one here has really beautiful milling lines going through that help with the grip. A complaint is that it doesn't have a landing pad for the pocket clip. I wish that it did, because you do feel it kind of stepping across those lines when you're pulling it out of the pocket. It's not awful, but you can kind of feel like as you're pulling it out, if that makes sense. And sound effects are free on the house. You do have a lanyard spot here that doesn't prioritize the pocket clip, and it's really nice and thin, and it complements the thumb hole. So to me, that's not an issue whatsoever. You get really good access to the lock bar here that's done very nicely. I'm able to easily get to that from the side. I'm able to easily pull up on it. And then if you do the front flipper and you land here, you can do kind of like that European giant mouse style where you just lay the finger down and slide it over and it closes just fine. Again, I have the skiffs and the pivot on this one. Very smooth action from the pivot. Really wants to go home. I mean, it is super smooth. I think it's even still breaking in. I'm not quite sure it's 100% done, but really, really smooth action. You have that opening hole, so you can reverse flick. You can, because it has enough bite right here, you can thumb flick. I swear you can thumb flick. I had my finger on the lock bar. So you do have to kind of be mindful of how much pressure you're putting. I was squeezing a little too hard, but if you let off the tension a little bit, it fires right out. Front flipper works really good. Now this one is thicker, so for smaller hands, it might be a little bit harder to do the side opening, and it is really difficult because you slide off. To do the reach around, you actually almost have to come flush, and you have to be able to put enough pressure behind the spine to get it. And even then it slams into my finger because I can't get out of the way fast enough. So I don't really feel like you can do the reach around comfortably on this one. But I like that they have the full fuller, because if you like to lay your finger down and you like to flip it out from the side instead of coming completely parallel to flip the knife, or if you're holding it this way completely horizontal to flip the knife, you don't have to do the thumb hole that way. You can kick it out like that from the side. Really good sound on this one too. And then it has a really nice, let me do the sounds. Just great looking knife overall. Blade has a nice hollow grind, came with a fantastic edge from the factory, and then you have the flat out on the tip, so you have that strength out there for your puncture task. Nice clip point, great jimping going all the way down the knife. Has a very usable forward finger choil, so this is very comfortable to use for detailed work and push cuts. Plenty of room to move around on the knife, even if you want to use the full handle for those puncture tasks and you don't want to be too close to the blade's edge. This is going to work really well if you're doing your gas station fights. I started to laugh before I even said it. You have a nice comfortable spot for the thumb, and you get that blade far enough away from the hand where it's very comfortable. Just a great model. I enjoyed it so much that I actually wanted to go ahead, and this is the 20CV variant. I wanted to get the Elmex variant that they offered, and I got the black washed handle instead, and that one is going to be in a drop point. So it's going to suit a different need, even though it'll be the same size and relatively around the same style. But I really like that one. Very comfortable, a nice everyday carry size that you can carry comfortably with or without other gear. It's not going to hog up a bunch of pocket space, so you'll have room in there if you do like to carry other gear, or if you're a very minimalist, it's going to take up very little space. Anyway, those are the knives with the honorable mentions at the beginning that I carried most in February. Tell me what you've been carrying the most and what you're enjoying carrying, and what are you looking forward to? I'm definitely looking forward to the other relative. I also have a quiet carry knife on the way. Very excited for that to get here and unveil that to you all. But these are the ones in February that made it into the pocket the most, and some of these are familiars and some of these are new or returning friends. Very happy to have them back in the collection. Thanks to everyone out there that leaves the likes, comments on the videos, and is subscribed. I appreciate the regular support from each and every one of you. You guys are awesome. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.